So the question today, dear Democrats, why is the DNC winter meeting open to the public, yet designed for party crashers only? Here's an open letter on the need for a 50-state strategy 2.0. Now, a preliminary report from the Democratic Victory Task Force is scheduled for the DNC winter meeting this week to help us decipher what went wrong in 2014 so it can be corrected in 2016. I'm sure there will be lots of great recommendations and mysteries discovered, but the most important fact is right under our nose. The Democratic Party, in many ways, isn't really a party at all. And for a party of the people, it is kind of critical. The problem is easy to spot when you consider this week's DNC winter meeting offers no adjustments that I can tell. The event is technically open to the public, according to the schedule, but how many Democrats even know that? Yet there are general sessions and caucus meetings that on paper you can go to, but aside from party officers, only the activist versions of the Salahis will actually participate in. People so committed to the party that they show up even if they only see the details secondhand. First off, the only schedule I've seen is a PDF, for God's sake. I would suggest adding more trainings and panels to the program to get people thinking, etc., but let's start small. If it wasn't for Virginia DNC committeeman Frank Leone on his Twitter feed, I wouldn't have even known about this. So congrats to him for doing his job, but I don't think he has ever been retweeted by a party committee, so he's a lone voice in the wilderness right now. After asking around, I found out there was a web page where you could sign up for free on an Association of State Democratic Chairs website. Now, I've never heard of it, and it is obviously only designed for state Democratic chairs. That's why my friend who sent it to me had to find it via a Google search. So I wonder, why wouldn't the DNC be trumpeting this exciting event and the speaker program? I would suggest first, before we get too deep into this, let the DNC know what you think, that it's my party too, and share my Dem autopsy. Let them know what you think needs to be changed to make the party stronger in the future. But in our blog post online, you can share your thoughts in the comments as well, so we can share them amongst ourselves. Now, I have the Twitter and Facebook of the DNC below. I do not share the email and phone number because there is no contact us page on the DNC website, but maybe in the future we can come up with new ways to contact folks there. In the meantime, let's take a look at what I discovered when I tried to figure out the DNC winter meeting. First of all, you go to the Twitter page, and the morning of the event, there is no mention on Twitter of the DNC meeting. And then you go to the DNC's Facebook page, and Marco Rubio is the star. Apparently the most important topic for us to be thinking about 24 hours before the event. And then you go to the website, and as you can see, there is clearly no events page at all. And then on the bottom left, it says, "What's next for Democrats?" Now, that's actually kind of interesting, because that's where there's a video of DNC Chair Debbie Wasserman Schultz asking for our input now that the DNC is looking into what went wrong in 2014. The only problem is that there is actually no link on the YouTube page, video page, or anywhere else nearby where you can actually, include your feedback to actually respond to her call for action. So that is pretty disappointing. There were some surveys that went out via email, maybe Twitter, in November, December, but neither of those are anywhere near this. Now, of course, you'd think, oh, well, the DNC meeting must have been mentioned via email at least. But if you look here, there is actually only one mention of it, and it is the It is the contest where you can meet President Obama. Now, this is a great opportunity to meet President Obama at the DNC meeting, but unfortunately, it is only a contest to attend the meeting. Now, I got one email that in this group where I was invited to become a DNC member, but since there were no membership benefits listed, for example, a meeting invitation, I don't know if membership actually had any privileges, so I did not participate. Now, on the DNC blog, there you could see the information about this contest, and where it says that Debbie Wasserman Schultz wants you to be at the meeting. Now, I thought, well, maybe this is more than just a mention of the contest to meet President Obama and to be flown to the meeting. This is an invitation for somebody who lives in the DC metro area, maybe, to actually attend. And of course not. This is actually a link to be part of the contest. I don't know many folks who would attend, who would only attend if there. I'm sure there are a lot of people who need a contest to attend, but many Democrats live within driving distance of this event. And it's a shame that if the DNC can set up out-of-state volunteer drives, they can't at least encourage you to attend the DNC meeting in Washington. Now, even if we're not going to encourage people to attend, how about a hashtag or a live stream or some kind of YouTube channel where we can follow along from home? Well, that's actually more the specialty, apparently, of CPAC, as conservatives are, in some cases, more digital savvy, I guess. They even have an app for their conference. Now, of course, this is an outside organization. It's not part of the party infrastructure. But if you look at the Organizing for Action, the former Obama campaign website, you actually don't see much of an improvement in terms of opportunities to get involved in events and connect. As there right now, there are barely any events at all, and this is actually not a new trend. So my motto right now is keep calm, but don't believe the hype. This is the 2015 Democratic organizing advantage at work. We have great data for banner ads and door knocks that the average voter will notice for a split second, although door knocks can be very valuable. In the grand scheme of things, when you have an opportunity to segment and actually reach supporters and build a relationship with them, the people that are following your emails, your social media, and visiting your websites on a regular basis, we're not taking advantage. In the end, despite some mild gains from superficial forms of content and outreach, not many new activists are getting involved. Not many new voters are being inspired by our grassroots army to join the movement and, at minimum, pull the lever to vote Democratic in November each year. So the funny thing is, when you go to the About Us page of the DNC website, there's a section on the 50-state strategy of funding party committees nationwide so they can better compete. The highlights end, though, after 2008, of course, because for some reason unifying our party with a nationwide network of activists was no longer a priority. And if you go to the leadership page, you see a list of politicians, not any staff who can actually be a resource for people interested in helping build the Democratic Party. Yes, there are local party committees and campaigns that people can work with too. But in many cases, they offer the same insular structure. We basically need the secret password to participate. And even when you do, you might later regret it, walking in the door in the first place. I mean, one example of where you might not have gotten the memo on some things going on, for example, on the more local level, actually the state level, is the Warner for Senate campaign, where they held a Get Out the Vote rally on election eve, and it barely got more publicity than the DNC meeting. No mention on Twitter, no Facebook, no website mentions beforehand. There was actually this is a more recent picture, but there were never any events listed on the website of the campaign. There were no campaign offices listed on the website of the campaign. And it mattered too. It was nearly a surprise upset of what was thought to be a presidential contender. This culture needs to change from the top down, not just rely on the bottom up. Party leaders talk a good game about grassroots organizing, but successful, people-focused activism is supported by strong leadership, not just people left to hang out to dry. The Democratic Party of Virginia's Vice Chair of Technology, Dave Leichman, recently posted a blog about the need for a 50-state strategy for digital organizers, and I would suggest incorporating such a program into reinvigorating the original vision. The Democratic Party needs to focus on three key things right now as part of a 50-state strategy 2.0: relationships, innovation, and innovation to build more relationships. I recently saw The Imitation Game, and the story of Alan Turing is inspiring and tragic because he was an innovator who helped a society triumph, even though society worked against him personally and professionally. We have thousands of Democratic Party activists whose talents are being lost in the current system. Sometimes this happens because they're not trained for creating relationships and innovation. But sometimes they're simply not rich enough to work without a living wage or in conditions that the party supposedly finds an affront to our values when implemented in the private sector. Until party and campaign organizations are truly partnering with their supporters to adequately invest in creating the 21st century solutions necessary to build the kind of relationships that enable trust and influence in the electorate, no one is going to care enough to fight back anymore. And that means no one is going to donate, volunteer, or vote either. It's often called movement building, organizing groups of like-minded people around a singular cause. That's why we chant, "Yes, we can," not "Yes, I can." Even though I've encouraged people to organize themselves, the fact is if they are not part of a smart, coordinated team effort, then all that work eventually dies and can become worthless. Look at Occupy Wall Street. And if you look at leaders of great movements, I don't recall MLK using the March on Washington as a vehicle for a big fundraiser, or Barack Obama hosting rallies without telling his supporters about them. Why create obstacles to build your movement? This is why the most important message that was lost in 2014 wasn't simply how many jobs were created in the past 5 years, but the message of who we are and who we're going to share it with. Everything else should complement these efforts. It's time to put the Obama campaign's "Respect, Empower, Include" slogan at the forefront of a democratic movement that is well aware that it represents much more than a bureaucracy, but is a leading cause of democratic opportunity for all in our government. Hopefully, the Democratic Victory Task Force will address some of these issues, and I really hope we can work with the current DNC leaders to enact them, because they will need Obama supporters and those who demand a "yes, we can" culture if they're going to work for another presidential candidate in 2016. In the meantime, the question remains: if the Democratic National Committee holds a meeting and doesn't invite Democrats, does it make a sound? So right now, I am inviting people to connect via the Ready for Unity hashtag. I have a Ready for Unity Twitter account and Facebook page that we're just getting going, and there'll probably be more resources soon. So please join those and be part of the advocacy effort to get us collaborating as a movement once again to win the majority in 2016. My commentaries are my Forward Progressive branded Twitter account, Facebook page. You can check out more of those there. And my community is Network for Progress. You can go to the website and find several different networks that relate to politics, careers, communications and technology, themed events, and news. So feel free to check that out. And we also have kind of national focused networks as well, if you're not in the DC metro area. So there you can get an idea of the kind of things I'm working on as well. I hope you'll be part of the cause to reform the Democratic Party and bring our movement from progressives to Democrats to hope mongers together. And thank you very much for paying attention.